being 1 week away from Zone C opening, which is a big portion of the state of Florida, I want to talk about some things I'm seeing this week and things with different people asking me where I can kind of see a problem. So first thing is we've kind of just had that shift now, and we haven't, like, maybe, and what I mean by that, like, maybe Zone D, hasn't yet. So that'd be another 3 weeks, whatever it is. But like for the majority of Zone C, some places Zone C they're rutting right now. Some places they'll be rutting in a couple weeks. Some places they're rutting in November. So the rut's spread out. But kind of as a whole, like acorns are dropping or about to start dropping in a lot of places. Things are changing. They've lost velvet. They're shed their summer coats. They're starting to look like deer again. So patterns are shifting. Bucks are breaking up. So what I want to talk about is basically two things I've been getting asked this week, and you can kind of figure. But one group of guys were asking me like, "Hey, I had these bucks all summer, and now they've vanished. I'm not getting anything, or I'm only getting 1 6 point occasionally at night. What should I do?" First thing is find the bucks. Like you gotta know where they shift to or where they go. If it's a new property and you don't have history with it, like you don't know where the rugs show up, things like that, then there's no other substitute other than walking it and learning it. Really, you'll have to kind of scout during season, and not to confuse people. I don't mean get to the woods on opening day and just take off walking around and messing people up, things like that. That may be, for the morning hunt, have a goal in mind to get to this location and kind of scout your way in. If you see the hot sign or you see something to set up on before you get there, then set up and then go on in for the evening, things like that. Be looking on the way to pick a spot based on a map or pick a spot based on history or whatever. And I'm just telling you what I would do. And basically scout my way into that spot and come out a different way if it was daylight, or, look at as much terrain as I could between A and B and pick the best setup. And if that was a bust the next day or the next day you got to hunt, whatever, pick another spot, do it again until you find them. Outside of just hanging cameras across the whole management area. But for that problem, that would probably be what I would do, is just scout my way into some places if I had time during the week when a lot of people wouldn't be hunting, or if it was a place that was low pressure, then I would walk around a little bit more during the week when I knew I wasn't going to mess anybody up, but I definitely wouldn't want to walk up on anybody or anything like that. The other side of that coin is guys are texting me, "Hey, I just had like 4 or 5 bucks show up. I'm getting them daylight every day." Well, they had their cameras in places like I have my cameras, to where when the bucks shift or the scouting pressure picks up and everything all happens kind of all at once. Right before season opens, the scouting pressure's really increased. Acorns are getting close to dropping. Everything's happening all at one time, and the bucks, especially the older bucks, start really getting into those safer areas. So I'm having guys text me that, and then wonder like, "Hey, should I go try to find where they're coming and going from, or where they're bedding if I'm getting them on camera at 8-9 a.m.?" And my answer is no. Like the chances of doing more damage than good are way too high to take that chance. I would hunt what I have. I may only hunt it one time. I'm trying to word that to where I don't confuse anybody. But look, let's just say, for instance, I have a camera hung on this tree, and I'm getting 3 bucks every other day, or a buck a day, or something in a range that is very patternable, very killable. The bucks are definitely in the area, and if you're getting if you're getting those bucks every other day, they're probably there every day. They're just not making it in front of the camera every day. So whatever reason, they could be walking behind it, or they're laying in one area and going out one side one day, one side the other day, whatever. But that would be a high odd situation for hunting. So I would be confident. I would go in. I'm not saying necessarily hunt at the camera. I would have to, the access and things like that would be a factor. So I would hunt the closest point I could on the wind and all that. But if I didn't kill one that day, then the next day I might move 50 yards farther, 100 yards farther, or whatever, depending on how thick it was and the terrain and the wind and things like that. But I would consider that camera being in a pretty safe area if I'm down to a week before season. I know guys have been scouting everywhere. If I'm down to a week before season, I got that many bucks daylighting, at the camera. I would say for some reason people aren't walking through there or whatever. I got a pretty safe area, so I would consider myself as the pressure. Now, if all the bucks vanished, then yeah, somebody came in there, whatever it was, bumped the deer, and I would have to try to re-find them. So once they vanished, then I probably wouldn't necessarily lock down and hunt where the camera is. I would range it, and it may only be a few hundred yards, whatever it is. But I would be confident going in to hunt daylight bucks on camera. And I kind of want to talk about, the other side. So which obviously I'm working on the shop a lot. I've had a couple little holdups, so I'm going to be basically last minute getting the shop done before I can take off and hunt. But I'm basically, my plan is, and I'll try to explain this to help some of y'all. My plan is for Saturday morning to basically, that's opening morning of archery, to basically go in after daylight, basically scout my way in. I'm going to go to a place I don't have any cameras. I haven't walked it this year at all. So I'm basically going in off train and past hunting pressure, things like that. But I'm basically gonna scout my way in until I find the sign or find something. And if I don't find something I'm confident setting up on, then I won't set up. But I think being confident is important. So I'm sure if I had, like some of these guys that lost their bucks, if I had several bucks on camera and they all disappeared, yeah, I'm not going to be confident. And then especially knowing, having nighttime bucks, that's basically the equivalent of not having anything. The exception to that would be, having a buck at night locked down with a doe, something like that, where he's going to be there the next morning. What I know and how far bucks can move on that shift, they could be 2 miles over there. So having them then is kind of the equivalent of not having anything. But I'm gonna scout my way in and try to find, maybe I can find a really active scrape or something in the right location. That's just more like I'm gonna try to find the terrain I'm looking for, and then maybe there's a scrape there or something just to narrow down that shot, because I like 20 inside. I like inside 30. I like inside 20-yard shots. So a scrape in archery season will help me narrow down the shot. If he's going to check the scrape, I can set up on that scrape. I'm gonna be in that camp to start archery season because I'm not hunting. Like I said in another video, I got rid of cameras. I only have 4 cameras out. They're all in one management area, and I'm not hunting there for the opener. I don't want to go in and take a chance on spooking some of them bigger bucks with a bad early season wind. So for the opener, I'm gonna stay out of there until it gets right. So for the guys that feel terrible, you lost all your bucks, whatever. I'm in the exact same situation you are. So I'm going to be doing the same thing I'm telling you to do. Slip my way in, find something worth hunting, and set up on it being confident. I'm not going to set up if I'm not confident. I'll just keep slipping. I may start at daylight and I'm going that direction slowly, looking, maybe a little weave, round some thick, whatever, walk an edge, get in a pond, go slow, whatever I'm doing, moving with the intention of setting up. But if I don't see nothing, then I may not even set up, and I'll try something else, try another area the next day. And I know that sucks for guys that only get to hunt Saturday and Sunday, and even this year with me, limited time, it's not, it sucks. But I think it is, there's no, the chances of getting lucky are slim. Like, I mean, what's the chances of running out to a management area, climbing a tree, and shooting a nice 8 point 30 minutes after daylight, doing it blind? I mean, it does happen, but it's not going to be a high odds situation. So I'm going to try to find the sign. You know, if I go in a little after daylight and I scout my way, maybe maybe where I was going was only half, 3/4 of a mile from the truck. I'll make it all the way to there and haven't seen any sign and start back up. Well, I'll come back to the truck and maybe ride the roads and see where people are parked. See what the hunting pressure is, things like that, and then try something else. Another thing to look for, like if I was familiar with the property or fairly familiar, or either I was familiar with the hunting pressure where the majority of people are going to be coming in, going from, things like that. But I was familiar with the property and didn't have any bucks located, or didn't have any bucks located where I thought they were in a good location to kill, something like that. Then I would go in before daylight and set up in an escape route. You know, expecting people to bump some deer walking in, push some deer back. You know, if guys are hunting out here in an oak hammock, or they're hunting whatever it is. You know, maybe they bump a deer off feed right before daylight, and the deer is going to go 300 or 400 yards, 500 yards, whatever. So I may be that 500 yards out, maybe across the slough, or, you know, whatever the situation is. I may set up an escape route even without the sign, without knowing there's a deer there, anything like that, for the first, you know, hour and a half of daylight, or 8 o'clock, whatever, and then get down and go to where I was going to go, something like that. But there's no perfect answer a blanket answer that's going to answer everybody's question and you can run out there and shoot a deer. If it was that easy, it wouldn't be fun. It wouldn't be a challenge, and I probably wouldn't do it. I enjoy the challenge, so I do think about things a lot and try to hunt logically, like, you know, try to hunt smart. I don't like wasting time. I have limited time to waste. Also, I wouldn't depend solely on trail camera information. Like, I mean, if I'm getting bucks I want to shoot every day, then yeah, depend on the information. But like, as far as not getting bucks, you know, if the camera's on a scrape, or the camera something that should draw a buck in the area, you know, a good scrape, and I'm not getting them, then yeah, I would say something's changed, something, you know, whatever. But just because I throw a camera up on a trail, on a transition line, or edge of a slough, or edge of a cypress pond, or whatever, and I don't get bucks, I'm not gonna let it worry me too much. I'm still gonna go in. I mean, it's just like even last year, when I was hunting an area where we had cameras, I saw, I don't even remember, 10, 12 bucks that weren't even bucks we had on the cameras, and I had 20 something bucks on cameras. So, or more than that, but at the time, I guess 20 something. So it's easy for a deer to walk behind a camera and stuff, unless it's on, as far as public go. You know, if it's on private and you got a food plot or a corn pile or mineral block or something where you're attracting those deer in front of the camera, then yeah, that's a different story. But if you're just putting a camera on a tree trying to catch a deer coming by here when he could be walking right behind it, I don't trust them. So I wouldn't put any faith in that. It's nice to get that picture, but on the flip side, if I knew I was in a pretty good location, I'd scouted it, you know, the sign's there, the big rub's there, whatever it is, then I wouldn't worry about the camera. But anyway, just something to think about before opening day. I'd hate to see somebody go scout and try to find beds where they got 4 or 5 shooters on camera in the daylight and blow them out and then not have anything. So I definitely wouldn't do that. But it's the same thing every season. There's always the two camps: the guys that had the bucks and they left, and the guys that get the bucks. So I think everybody needs to be working towards being the guy that gets the bucks, and that's going to be where the hunting pressure is not, where guys aren't walking around scouting, where guys aren't walking around hunting, where it's a safe area and the bucks feel comfortable because they're going to be moving periodically throughout the day somewhere every day. But anyway, something to think about. Good luck to everybody. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.